Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, it will be a different video. I think you guys can notice by the scenario behind me because I'm gonna do my makeup and talk to you guys about, I think, interesting subject. That's how I learned another language, because if you guys haven't noticed yet, I'm not an English native speaker. Of course you guys notice it. I'm Brazilian, I'm from Brazil, and I've learned another language, which is English, of course. And I want to talk to you guys how I managed to learn English by myself, because I haven't took English classes in my life, to be honest. I always studied by myself at home, just watching YouTube videos. So that's it. If you are curious, keep on watching and let's get started. First of all, I have to tell you guys that for me, when it comes to learn English, it also for other languages, of course. So if you are learning, I don't know, Spanish, Italian, whatever, what I did to learn English is the same for other languages, okay? So yeah. And also, I don't feel like I know everything. I still feel like I'm still learning English, okay? Let me put some drops of this makeup thinner because I want my foundation more thin for today. So first, I have to tell you guys my background. I think this is important, especially when you are trying to learn another language by yourself, because I see some videos of other people with the same topic, like learning another language by themselves, and the most of them, like, they background, like they are learning English since they are a kid or something like that, you know, took English classes, but it's not my case. Like, first, because I hadn't money. I just started to study English seriously like in 2023, like last year. So yeah, the first moment that I was introduced to English, it was when I was 12, because it was at school. So when I was at school, I was introduced to English and I just fell in love. It was my favorite subject at school. And also, I was all the time translating songs, especially Michael Jackson songs, because of course, I'm a big fan of Michael Jackson, okay? So I was all the time translating his songs. The dictionary was every day under my arm, just translating. And I felt like I was kind of memorizing the words, because of course my translation was full. I was translating word by word, and we know that in English it's not like that, because a word has a meaning, but if you put this word with another word, it has another different meaning. So I was translating wrong, but at the same time I was like memorizing the words that I was learning, that I was using to translate. So it was like I started to be very good in translation and reading, especially. So when I was at school, the exercise at school, it was always like translating this story, translate this phrase, you know, something like that. And I felt I was very good on it, because when I was at home, I was all the time trying to translate songs. So I like it to do that. I like it English. But I was all the time like that. Oh, I feel like studying English today, but I spent 1 week without studying English. And then 3 weeks studying, but studying the same way, just translating songs, translating. I don't know. I was just 12, so I had no idea how to study English, how to study another language. So yeah, for me it was just in knowing the meaning of the words, and and learning vocabulary, and just that. I wasn't even trying to speak. It was just reading and know what I was reading. You know what I mean? That being said, you must have a goal before you start to study something, because when you have, I don't know, a goal, a dream, or something like that, you feel more dedicated to do it, if it makes sense for you guys. Because yeah, I was back there, I was just just studying to spend my time. I was bored, so I was like, oh, I feel like studying, or I liked a song and I was obsessed with that song. I was like, oh, I want to know the translation about that song, or whatever. So I was just lost. I had no idea what I was doing, so I just gave up. So I think in 2022 I was with a goal in my mind. I like to say it was God talking to me, because I was, when something crosses on your mind and suddenly you cannot stop to think about it. It's literally you turn obsessed with that idea, with that suggestion which appeared in your mind, and I was just thinking every day that suggestion in my mind, like, oh, what if I started to study English again, or something. That's what I did. So in 2022 I started to study English again. So yeah, if I can separate this video in in tips, we can say, like, the first tip is you must have a reason to study English. I feel like if you just study, I wouldn't say for fun, but just because you are feeling bored, or because everyone is learning English or another language, or because you just feel, I have to do that, because just doing it, I can be this and that. It's not like you really like it. It's just because you feel obligated to do it, if it makes sense. But yeah, if you feel like that, so when you are studying, is very stressful. So I don't recommend. So yeah, so I started to study grammar and vocabulary, but I wasn't watching videos in English yet. I was watching YouTube videos about people who speaks Portuguese, which is my native language, teaching English. So I was with my notebook and just taking notes all the time about words and meanings and expressions, grammar exercise, And after that, when I started, and I remember that I was every day trying to write down on my notebook about my day. It was, something random, like I wake up always in the present tense, because I think it's easier, the present tense. So I was all the time, I wake up at 7 a.m. and the first thing I do is to go to the bathroom to wash my face, and then I have my breakfast. So I was describing my routine. So I was practicing my writing skills because I think it's important, the writing, right? Because you are thinking before you write down on your notebook. So I was describing it in the present tense. So after that, I feel like when you are doing the same thing like for 1 week or every day, and you start to feel confident about that, you start to feel bored as well. I feel like I don't feel like doing it anymore. So I started to write in the past tense. So I woke up at 7 a.m. and then I went to the bathroom. So I was doing the same thing, but I switched the tense. Now I was doing it in the past tense. And then the future, and then I started to write down about specific subjects. Like, for example, I was describing how I cook, I don't know, some dessert or something like that. I was all the time finding ways to practice my English skills. First, the writing, and then when I was all the time feeling bored, I was changing the strategies. So yeah, I think it's a good tip for you guys. And then I started to watch videos in English on YouTube, and I felt like I was understanding what they are saying, but it was English teachers, videos like people teaching English, and it was native English speakers. But I wasn't able to understand like movies and series and interviews or something like that. I was just, watching and trying to understand. I was just understanding 1 or 2 words, but I was like feeling lost because I felt like, oh my God, they are talking so fast. They are speaking so fast. So I'm lost. I don't know. So yeah, so I was feeling like, oh, I just can't understand English teachers and just that. And I think it's completely normal because now I see that they speak more slow, if it makes sense, I guess, or not slow, but they don't use contractions, or they don't use difficult vocabulary, you know what I mean? So it's easier for who isn't a native English speaker to understand them. So I think it's good for us, so I was just watching their videos and practicing my listening skills. So I was like getting used to listen to them speaking English, and then get used to the English, So I think if I can take out a tip for this short story, you have to respect your level, and then you can work on it. Because yeah, if you are able to understand English teachers, you are in a good level, in my opinion, right? Because I was all the time watching them, and my mom was behind me trying to understand a single word, because she wasn't studying English, I was. So for her, me understanding then, it was a good step for her. It was, oh, she really understands English, because she can understand these English teachers. So don't feel like, oh, I just can't understand English teachers, I'm not good in English, I'm not improving it. Because yeah, you are, you just have to respect the level that you are, and you can work on it. And then I started to feel like I was in an intermediate level. For me, this is the worst, because you just feel stuck. Like, okay, I can understand some people, some words, I can understand some phrases. If I watch a movie or something, I can speak some phrases, I was feeling lost, because I was like, oh, I don't know what I have to study now, because I can understand this and that, so I don't know if I must study grammar now, or if I must study more vocabulary or speaking or reading. So I was like, my brain was, burning, trying to find solutions. So this is when I just stopped to study. I don't feel like studying anymore, because I was feeling lost. I was feeling, I already know about this, so this is when I started just to practice. And for me, let me just for you guys, practice makes perfect. They say this, and it's true, practice makes perfect. So that's when I just threw out my notebook and decided to practice what I've learned. So for me, this is when the things started to work for me, when I was just practicing and putting my brain to think, putting my brain to exercise about English. So the first thing I started to do with this is what I recommend for you guys. Switch, for example, your phone to English language, so we start to see all of your platforms in English. So if you don't know vocabulary about social media, about, for example, the buttons on your phone, you start to learn because it's there in English on your phone, right? Every video that I was watching on social media, I still do that. I try to watch it in English. The most times without subtitles, just to practice even more my listening. So I was immersing myself in the English word. So everything that I was doing, that I'm still doing, I do in English, okay? So nowadays, if I want to watch a movie, I try to find an English movie. If I want just, scrolling on my phone on social media, I try to watch, motivation videos, or, these short videos in other platforms. I try to watch it or see the pictures, those pictures which has the captions in English. So I was like literally immersing myself in everything in English. If I was feeling like read a book, I was trying to find an English book, an English story, and then I was reading a book. What I was feeling to do, I was reading a book, but then I was also practicing my reading skills. So I was all the time trying to put English in my daily routine. And when you do that, guys, let me tell you, it's like the magic happens. It's like you can, and this is, to be honest, this is when I felt like I started to improve my listening overnight. I was just doing these things randomly, and then I was feeling like, oh, now I can understand native English speakers in a movie, in a series. I was watching interviews and I was understanding everything overnight, literally overnight, because I was doing these things that I'm telling you without pressure. you know. I wasn't like, oh, I have to study this, so I'm gonna spend 2 hours watching videos about grammar, prepositions, modal verbs, and so it's like I wasn't putting pressure on me. I was doing something to relax myself, or doing something that I already do in my daily routine, but in English. Starting to improve my listening, I can say writing, because I was talking to some friends that I'm telling you guys later. So yeah, so when you do that, like putting English in your routine, trying to immerse yourself in English, is like everything starts to change in your life, you know, in your studies. So yeah. And then we get how to, you know, how to unlock your speaking skills. And I understand it. This was the last thing that I decided to do it when I was feeling no. Now I'm feeling more comfortable to try to speak in English. But the same thing, guys, you have to practice. Even if you feel like, oh, because I was feeling always like that. When I was opening my mouth, the words disappeared. So my mind got blank. So I was like, I don't know what I have to say now. But because your brain is not used to do that. Like your brain is used with your native language, to think in your native language. So you have to, you know, you have to be insistent with your brain. Try now, you have to think in English. You have to, which is very fun for me, because I was talking to a friend, guys, and she asked to me like, when you are speaking English, you think in English or not? And I stopped to think, and I was like, to be honest, I don't think in anything. The words just coming out, you know. So for me, I was all the time, I still watch videos like this, how to think in English. But for me now, talking to you guys, I feel like I don't think in anything. Maybe because my brain is used with the words, I don't know. But sometimes, even in our native language, I think we treat English as if it's another different language, and the word, you know, even in English or even other languages, right? I'm saying English because this the language that I'm still learning. Because if you stop to think, even when I'm speaking Portuguese, sometimes my brain got blank. You know, I literally forgot the word that I was saying. I was about to say a word, but I completely forgot now, even speaking in my native language. So why in English I have to be perfect? You know, I have to think and memorize every single word. So it's okay, guys, to forget the word sometimes, you know. So yeah, if you do that even in your native language, so just think that it's completely okay. The same situation in English, right? And I've heard that listening is the hardest skill to improve, to learn, but for me it's the speaking, because it also involves your emotional. Like you have to feel confident sometimes to speak in another language, okay? So yeah, for me, the speaking skill is the hardest, because if you're not feeling confident, you are feeling insecure to speak in another language, so this can stuck you, if it makes sense, you know. And by the way, guys, as I already said, I'm still learning English, so if I'm making mistakes in this video, just let me know in the comments, because yeah, this is a proof for you guys that if you feel confident, you can just go for it. You know what I mean? Because I have no idea if I'm making mistakes or not in this video. For me, I'm okay. For me, I'm okay. I'm able to have a conversation with you guys, but probably I can make some mistakes in grammar or even in pronunciation. I don't know, but I'm still learning. Okay, so if this is the case, because I like to let you guys know, because sometimes some people can say, oh, you are saying that, but you are making this mistake and it's wrong. Da, 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 da. It's okay. Even in my native language, I make mistakes. You know, even in my native language, I say some words that don't even exist in my native language, just because as from the culture, you know, we learn some expressions and words that don't even exist in our native language, in grammar, for example. So yeah, but I'm okay with it. I think when you are about speaking in other languages, we feel like we have to be 100% perfect, 100% fluent. Like we have to know 100% in pronunciation. We don't need to have accent, like, you know, all the things. And even in my country, I feel like the people are very demanding about accent. Like, I don't know in your country, but here in Brazil, the people are like, if you have accent, so you are not fluent, you don't know English, you don't know other languages because you have accent. You must speak like a native English person. You have to speak like American or like Australian. So sometimes I was feeling a little frustrating even when I was watching my own videos on this channel, because I was like, oh my god, the people can notice that I'm still learning English. But nowadays I feel like it's okay. This is when we get that subject about how to practice your speaking skills, you know, because everyone can say like, I don't have anyone to practice my speaking. And yeah, the first thing that I was doing, I still do that. In my native language or in English, I talk to myself. So I was all the time, I was like speaking what I must do in my day, you know, like right now I'm cooking. So I was all the time. If I was at the bathroom, so I was like, oh, right now I'm gonna wash my face and apply some sunscreen because I have to go out to do this, to do that, and so I was all the time. Because even if you make a little more, you are practicing. You are practicing, you know. So I was doing it all the time, and I trying to use those apps like Hello Talk. What else? Tunde. I didn't like Tunde, to be honest. You know, there are some weirdo people there. I like it, Hello Talk. I made a lot of friends there, but for practicing my speaking skills, for me, it didn't work, you know. First, because when someone was like, oh, do you want to practice? Because for you to practice your speaking skills, you have to open your mouth, you have to speak. So the people was like typing messages, and it was the same, like, how are you doing, what are you doing right now, good night, good morning, the same. And at the beginning, it's great, you are, you know, meeting people, but you are just talking to someone like 3 days, and it's the same conversation every day. So I was feeling like I'm not improving my English this way. So I was like, no, I want to send audio messages or even voice calls. I don't like video calls because I have to be in my in my good appearance. So I prefer voice calls or voice messages. But the hard thing, it was like when I was available to do it, the other person wasn't, you know. And when the other person was available to make a voice call or something, I was busy. So long story short, Hello Talk and those apps to practice your speaking skills, it didn't work for me. And then the ChatGPT appeared for me, and guys, for me it was the most intelligent tool for me to learn a new language, you know. This is what I want to tell you, because the ChatGPT can correct you, can talk to you. You can literally say, oh, let's pretend that you are my best friend, you are from London or something, and we are in some coffee shop talking about our problems or about our boyfriends or something like that. Like, you can create a role play if you can practice some, you know, you can practice your speaking skills and about situations, because it's like, I don't know, every person has a reason to practice. But anyway, but yeah, you can do everything with the ChatGPT to practice your speaking skills, right? And you can practice even your listening, like about accent, you know, like for example, you can ask to ChatGPT to make British accent if you are trying to study the British accent, or you know, the Australian accent or whatever. Okay, I'm here with my cell phone on ChatGPT. I'm gonna show you guys how I can use it. For example, I can press this button like, oh hey, can you please make an Ireland accent for me, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to give it a go. Here's a bit of an Irish accent for you. It's got a lovely lilt to it, don't you think? I hope this helps you get a feel for the Irish way of speaking.
Okay, now I want to practice my British accent. So can you make the British accent for me?
Absolutely, I'd be delighted to. Here's a British accent for you. It's quite proper and clear, with distinct enunciation. Practicing this should give you a good grasp of the British style. Hope that helps.
Okay, now an Australian accent.
All right, here we go with an Australian accent. It's pretty laid back and has a bit of a drawl to it. Practicing this should help you get a feel for the Aussie way of speaking. Hope you find it useful.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If you want to practice more accents or anything else, just let me know.
Let me know. So yeah, guys, the ChatGPT for me, it was a good tool to practice my speaking skills, because I can practice whenever I can. Like, I don't need to have a schedule to practice, to talk to someone else or something like that, because the app is there for me, available for me 24/7. So yeah, if you haven't tried the ChatGPT to practice your speaking skills, I highly recommend, because it's really, really good. And also, you can practice not just your speaking skills, of course, but your writing too. You can write something. Sometimes I do that. You can write something, ask to ChatGPT to correct you if you made grammar mistakes, or you know, something like that, and the ChatGPT does perfectly. So yeah, guys, that's it. Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoy it, this type of video, if you guys would like other subject for me to talk about, as I'm doing my makeup. And to be honest, it's very hard for me to try to think in English, talk to you guys in English, and do my makeup at the same time. Even in my native language, it's difficult for me. Now I don't know if I apply a gloss or just a lipstick. Yeah, I'm gonna apply this little gloss. So that's it, guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, just subscribe right now, okay? Let me know in the comments your opinion about this video, okay? So that's all. Bye bye.